Alright, so it did look like they dropped the new banners, or the upcoming banners, for Wanderer and Baizhu. So we've got Wanderer and Baizhu with Beidou, Faruzan, and Layla. So far that's okay. Let's look at the weapon banner real quick. We've got Wanderer's Signature, the Tuli Tula's Remembrance, and then Jadefall Splendor. Baizhu along with Prospector's Drill, which is the spear, the bow, which I forget the name of, Fab Sword, what is the name of this? Prospector's Drill, which is the drill polearm, Range Gauge, which is the bow, Fab Sword, Sacrificial Fragments, and Rain Slasher. Huh, interesting. Okay, let's look at the character banners first. So I went over Wanderer and Baizhu in my character review video on this patch. Basically, they're both pretty good. Neither one is super necessary. They're sort of like characters that you get basically because you want to, not because they're just going to completely change your account. The 4 stars we've got Faruzan, which makes sense. She buffs animo damage, and that really helps Wanderer, though Faruzan is really not a good character unless you have tons of energy recharge invested into her, like over 300%, or if you have her C6, and then she becomes a lot better. Layla is pretty good, even just at C0. She's a decent shielder. It's easy to stack a lot of HP on her, and it's really it's a really nice option if you don't have someone like Zhongli. And she works in a lot of different teams where you just need a shield character general, so pretty easy to build, nice just defensive character. And then we have Beidou, who's probably the best 4-star out of everyone here. Beidou probably doesn't get that much recognition anymore, but she is a very good electro character, especially at C2. Her C2 lets her burst bounce multiple times and hit multiple enemies, and if there's exactly 2 enemies, it hits them 5 times, which is really nice. It goes from 2 hits to 5, which is a very big damage increase. It actually increases her overall damage by over 66%. So Beidou is definitely the best character to get here, unless you're maybe very high cons on Faruzan and you want Wanderer and then you maybe get her C6, then that really changes her quite a bit. Layla's constellations don't really help that much. They're alright, but totally unnecessary. C0 Layla is just fine if you need a shield character. And this is kind of interesting. It feels like they put Beidou here just to work with Baizhu, though she does work with Wanderer, especially in like a Wanderer Electrocharge team, where if you're using something like Beidou, Xingqiu, and Fischl, and then Wanderer to just be an Electro driver, you don't get quite the same amount of swirl damage as running someone like Sucrose with EM, but that can work. I've used it and it's pretty fun. So overall, the 4 stars here are alright. Definitely not worth like wishing for unless you really want the 5-star though. And it looks like they do actually have some synergy with at least Wanderer. With Baizhu, he is kind of his own support. You don't really want to use him on field anyways. So the animo damage buff from Faruzan would not help him because he's Dendro. The shield really isn't necessary because Baizhu does make his own shield, even though it is very weak. He does make his own just to block 1 hit, so it's not really that necessary. Beidou could work for a potentially on-field Baizhu, or just using Beidou and Baizhu together in, let's say, an Alhaitham team or something like that would actually be quite nice. But mostly these 4 stars are kind of here to work with Wanderer, because you really want to run a shield with Wanderer. He does not really have that much movement in his floating form. His movement speed is about the same as like walk speed, so it's not very fast, unlike someone like Neuvillette, who can just kind of zoom around the whole arena, and then because of that he's prone to getting hit by stray hits quite a bit. So running a shield character with him just feels really nice. Obviously Faruzan buffs his damage, and then Beidou can help be an off-field DPS for him as well. So these banners are okay. If you're going for Baizhu, the 4 stars aren't great. If you'd like Wanderer, the 4 stars here are pretty decent. Hopefully you get a lot of Faruzan constellations while you're wishing for him, because she can be really helpful. So overall, okay for the character banners. Let's talk about the weapon banners then. Wanderer's weapon for him, obviously very good. The increase in attack speed, nice base attack, and crit and all that stuff. Very solid weapon, but there's other good catalysts and other good free-to-play catalyst options for him, including like the craftable Fontaine weapon, the Flowing Purity. If you just need like an attack stat stick, that's a pretty good option. if you don't want to go for his weapon. Because of the 4 stars on the banner, I don't really think it's worth it. Jadefall Splendor, it's basically just a slightly better prototype Amber, and if you wanted to wish for the weapons, I'd say the 5 stars aren't really worth it, because you could get 1 to 2 Jadefall Splendors, you could get nothing that you really wanted for if you were going for Wanderer. So, 5 stars, I would say, not really great, and the 4 stars aren't really great either. The Prospector's Drill and the Range Gauge are just similar to, like, they are similar to the, what is it called, Portable Power Saw. Not really a great weapon. That's the one that reran on the previous, or is in the current banners now. And then Fav Sword, really good. Sack Frags, very good for anyone who wants a lot of EM, and if they need to get their skill like cooldown reduced for some reason. The greatest user of these Sack Frags is Sucrose, so if you have Sucrose and you want a good weapon for her, that could be good. Also very good for Nahida. And then Rain Slasher is a little bit better now with like Gumming or like maybe Plunge to Luke, but it's not really a very good weapon. You can also use it on Aggravate Beidou, which is probably why they included it, because Beidou is here, and then if you're running an Aggravate Beidou, Rain Slasher can be okay. But honestly, this weapon banner is not very good. Fav Sword's good, Sack Frags is good for several characters, but not all of them. And then the Range Gauge and the Drill, not great. And the 5-star weapons, not really that great either. This is a nice DPS catalyst, but this is a healing support catalyst, and because you only have a 37% chance of getting one of the 5-star weapons you want, I would say just don't wish on this weapon banner. It's not worth it. If you did want one of the character banners, it's a little bit better because the 4 stars aren't too bad. They're mediocre to good depending on constellations for Faruzan and Beidou, and then Layla is just a decent C0 unit. Overall, these banners, okay. Weapon banner, don't wish on it. Character banners, if you want to go for them, it's not the worst.